In 2022, BMW did something that made the entire internet lose its mind. They told their customers that the heated seats in their car, which were seats that were already physically installed inside the car, would not work unless they paid 1500 rupees every single month. Let that sink in for a second. You buy a car worth 50 lakh rupees or more, the heated seats are right there built into the vehicle, but BMW says no, if you want to actually use them, that'll be 1500 rupees per month please. Honestly, it sounds as crazy as buying a house and then being told that you need a monthly subscription to use the kitchen. Now BMW's argument here was to build every car with the same hardware and then let customers unlock additional features through software, which is almost like kind of buying add-ons. And in that case, if you only wanted heated seats in the winter season, a short subscription could theoretically cost less than paying for the entire feature upfront. But most people did not see it that way. To them, it felt like paying rent on something that they already owned. And BMW eventually had to back off from their plans. Now the interesting thing is, BMW was not the only company thinking like this. Mercedes started offering faster acceleration behind a 1 lakh rupee per year subscription, Toyota started charging for remote start, and Tesla also charges for something called premium connectivity, which is basically things like live traffic maps, satellite views, and in-car streaming on top of the car's price. In fact, it's not even just about cars. Today there are subscriptions for your printer ink, your sewing machine, your alarm clock, your fitness band, and God knows what not. And if you zoom out and look at the bigger picture here, the entire economy is slowly shifting from buy it and own it to pay every month to keep using it. Right from Netflix to Adobe to Amazon Prime to Microsoft Office, subscriptions have taken over almost every part of our digital as well as physical lives. And the numbers behind this are also absolutely insane. By some estimates, the subscription e-commerce market alone was worth around $73 billion in 2021. And in 2026, it is expected to cross $900 billion. So the big question is why? Why are almost all companies suddenly obsessed with making you pay for subscriptions every single month? Is it just corporate greed, or is there something deeper going on here? That's what we'll decode in today's video. My name is Anurag Bansal, and this video has been made possible thanks to the support of Zerodha 01 Media Network. Let's decode. Now, to understand why every brand today is obsessed with subscriptions, let's very quickly get an understanding of the economics of subscriptions first. Because once you see these numbers, you will be able to understand why companies just cannot resist going after this model. See, in the old days, the way most businesses worked was very simple. You make a product, you sell it, you get paid once, and then you hope that the customer someday comes back to buy again from you. Let's take Microsoft Office as an example. Back in the early 2000s, if you wanted Word, Excel, or PowerPoint legally, you would have to buy a box with a CD inside. It would cost somewhere between 20 to 30,000 rupees for a single license. You would then install it, and that was it. It was yours forever. Now, from Microsoft's point of view, the problem with this was that once you bought it, there was no guarantee that you would pay them once again. Maybe you would skip the next version, maybe you could pirate it, or maybe you would just keep using the old version of the software for 10-15 years, because honestly, a product like Word or Excel has not changed too much in many years now. So Microsoft could never realistically predict how much money a customer would give them over their lifetime. And for a business, that unpredictability is an absolute nightmare. So what's the solution? Subscriptions. Microsoft launched something called Office 365. Basically, now instead of paying money to them upfront, we pay a smaller but fixed amount every year. Now it sounds cheaper initially, but just within a few years of paying that annual subscription, we have already spent more than the old one-time price. And after that, Microsoft keeps earning from us year after year. And they very well know with high confidence that we will not cancel because our entire work life depends on MS Office. And that is the exact certainty that a subscription business brings in. It helps companies get data of who subscribed, how long they stay, how much they pay, and also when they leave. So they can plan their hiring, their expansion, their ad spends, all of that with a lot more confidence. And that predictability is also what investors really love. And that is why so many companies, right from Adobe to Netflix, is trying to convert you from a one-time buyer to a monthly or a yearly subscriber. Now, of course, this is not to say that subscriptions are bad or evil. There are positive sides as well. For example, over the last few years, a lot of things that we own or use have become software driven, and they have gotten connected to the internet. This means companies can now communicate with products even after you have bought them. That means it's a benefit for us consumers as well, because we get updates very regularly. So then the question is, if the economics are good from an investor's perspective and the benefits are good from a customer's perspective, then what's exactly the problem? See, the problem is that when a business model is so attractive, the incentive itself shifts. Instead of competing on how good the product is, companies suddenly start competing on how hard hard they can make it for you to leave their service. And that is where a completely different side to this entire system becomes very important to understand. That is the concept of bricking. Now, bricking is basically when a company decides to stop supporting a product, and as a result, the product just stops working entirely. To give you an example, Spotify had once launched a device called Car Thing a couple of years ago, and in less than 2 years after the launch, Spotify announced that they were discontinuing it, and by December 2024, every single Car Thing device stopped being operational. Now, for those people who bought it, it was just gone and wasted, and that probably is the most underappreciated risk of the subscription economy. And the problem is that this is only going to become a bigger concern because more and more of our daily lives is getting connected to software and servers day by day. Think about electric vehicles as an example. Today, dozens of EV startups are coming across India and the world, and a lot of them are burning cash and struggling to scale, and they are competing in an increasingly crowded market. Now, the thing is, what happens when some of these companies inevitably shut down? The cars they sell usually depend on company servers for things like updates, diagnostics, and also app-based features which owners rely on every single day. All of that will have to go away. In fact, we've actually seen a very close case of such an example in the US. Fisker, which is an American EV company, filed for bankruptcy some time ago, and thousands of Fisker car owners now face uncertainty about which features will keep working and which ones will not once the company's servers are shut down. And that is what is interesting to think about, because we seem to be moving from a world where buying something meant owning it forever to now a world where buying something increasingly means renting the right to use it for as long as the company allows. Now, does that mean subscriptions are inherently bad? Not at all. Before cloud software existed, you had to spend many thousand rupees upfront on a software suite that would maybe become outdated in about 2 years. But now we all can access the latest version at the fraction of a cost monthly. And for somebody like a freelancer or a student, that lower barrier to entry is genuinely very helpful. So clearly, the subscription model itself is not the issue. But we've still seen some cases where it works and some cases where it does not. So the real question is, where does it work and where does it backfire? See, when a company like Spotify says, pay us 149 rupees per month for unlimited music, nobody is protesting as such. The value exchange is very obvious because you get access to practically all the music ever recorded, and the company has real ongoing costs to run the service. And in fact, even if you want to leave, you easily can. And if you're worried about your playlist, you can transfer those through a third-party app as well. But the thing is, when BMW says pay us 1500 rupees per month to use seats that are already in your car, people lose their minds. Now, both are subscriptions, both charge you monthly, and both are controlled by software. So the question is then, why does one work and the other does not? The difference is consumer perception. See, with Spotify, you feel like you are paying for something that the company is actively providing to you. But with BMW, you feel like you are being charged for something that you already have. Even if BMW's economics internally make sense, the consumer does not experience it in the same way. And in the space of marketing and branding, perception is reality. But besides that, what makes this all really interesting is that the line between what consumers accept and what they reject is not really fixed. It keeps moving with time. Think about it. About 5 years ago, sharing your Netflix password with friends and family was completely normal. Netflix even joked about it in their own marketing. But then Netflix eventually cracked down on password sharing and people got really angry. But then eventually most people just accepted it and they eventually paid and moved on. So the question worth asking is, BMW's heated seat felt outrageous back in 2022, but will it still feel outrageous in 2030 or 2035? Will a new generation of car buyers who have grown up subscribing to everything from music to cloud storage even think twice about it? I genuinely don't know the answer, but what I do know is that every company in the world is watching where that particular line is sitting right now, and they are constantly testing how far it can move. By the way, if you made it so far in this video, let's do a quick and fun exercise. Take out 15 minutes and look at all the subscriptions that you are currently paying for. I am very sure that most of you will be surprised at how many subscriptions you are paying for today. I would love to know your subscription count in the comment section. That's all from my side for today's video. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.